Hello, and welcome to the GamingLegendz YouTube channel. My name is TJ, and today's video is about showing you how to use the Xim Apex and the Cronus Zen on the PlayStation 5 with PlayStation 5 Games. But this time we're going to use the DualShock 4 controller versions 1 and 2. Before we begin, I'd like to say, if you find these videos helpful and you wish to support us, please give us a like and a sub, and then feel free to follow us on our other social media platforms listed in the description. A donate link is also in the description for those that want to support us further, and as always, it is completely optional. Donations will go towards equipment, software development, and other various projects we have going on. These include items people may want us to try out and give tutorials on, or reviews on. And content creators, if you use our videos to recreate a video for your own page, just please give us a credit or a shout out. Alright, let's get started. Oh guys, if you're experiencing no input on after you connect to your remote play, whether your controller doesn't turn on, your mouse or your keyboard, then the issue is probably within your XIM hub. If you have a third-party hub and this isn't happening, we could further troubleshoot that. However, look for my video about the XIM PS4 remote play controller won't turn on fix. This video will show you how to fix that. Also, these videos and other videos with the Cronus and Zen will be located in the description, along with other links to devices and tutorials and walkthroughs on how to use your Cronus Zen, update them, or what have you. Alright, so once again, this video is about showing you how to use the DualShock 4 controller on the PS5 instead of the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. And this is with the Cronus and the Zen. So let's talk about what equipment I'll be using. I'll be using a version 2 DualShock controller. You know it's a version 2 because it glows right here at the top of the controller, and in the back, a DualShock 1 only glows in the back. But for today's purpose, I'm only going to show you the version 2, but they will work all the same. So this will be the first thing you need. Obviously a PS5. And then let's talk about the Cronus and the Zen. So last video, it was confusing about what ports and where I was plugging things in, what wires was I using. So I'll get a little more detailed in this one. This is the Cronus Zen. I have it updated all the way to version 2.0.1 or 11. I believe the latest version. So I have that updated on the Zen software, Zen Studio software, and I'll show you that in a little bit. This is the left port I was talking about. This is also called port A1. You have the rear port, which this is the programming port, but this is the rear port where you connect it to the console or the PC. These are the two front ports. The left one is front port, front left, A3, and the front right is A2. The right port is the port you use to connect it to Zen Studio. The top two buttons are Bluetooth, and these are your selection of your profiles for games. So that's the Cronus Zen, and then I have the Xim Apex. We only have one port on there. I have this updated to the latest beta version. So there's a link in the description on which beta firmware to use when you use this. So now that we went over the Zen and the Xim Apex, let's go over the wires we'll be using, or in the hubs. So I'll be using obviously a mouse. I'll be using the short cable for the Cronus Zen, comes stock. I'll be also using my very own USB hub with the power cable and the USB cable. Also, the wires you're going to want are a USB-C wire, C cable for the PlayStation 5 controller, and a micro USB cable for the PlayStation 4 controller. So some of you have been asking and wondering, do you need your own hub for this? USB hub, and you can use the original OEM hub. However, Some people run into issues where this does not power your devices properly, and you end up with no movement and no connections, and your mouse turns on, your keyboard turns on, your controller turns on, but there's no movement, or one of those things or multiple of those things will not turn on. That is why I use an external hub, and these are easy. You just simply connect them the same way you would do on the XIM hub. So I connect bottom port mouse, second port keyboard if I use it, and third port controller. And I also have a fourth port connected, which is a micro USB controller. So with these, I found it doesn't seem like it matters what port things go in, but once again, it'll be mouse, keyboard, controller. For the normal XIM hub, as always, you have your 1, 2, and 3. The bottom one will be mouse, second one keyboard, third is controller. It'll be that way the whole time. One other thing I do not use for the Cronus Zen is its OEM controller cable. I found this cable does not work for me while doing this method. If it works for you, that's good. However, I do not use this long micro USB cable that was meant for the controllers. Another important thing I want to get into is something I call sequencing. That is plugging these devices in a sequence. This is important for the XIM and the Cronus to get them both working properly. If you plug everything in at once, you may end up with a non-working device until you plug them in a sequence. So what I mean by that is, when I say to plug the XIM in, I'll usually plug the XIM into a hub, my hub preferably. However, I'll plug the XIM in with the hub and the mouse only. After the XIM is configured and initialized, I will plug in the controller. Or in your cases, most of you will use keyboards and mice. You will plug in your keyboard and mouse all at the same time and then the controller. But I'll get into that when the tutorial starts. Also, the same thing with the Cronus. You want to plug in the Cronus with nothing else, and then you plug in the controller in one of the ports. Alright, so let's begin. First things first, let's talk about the settings for the PlayStation. So, PlayStation 5 settings, what I have is, I'll go into my controller settings. You'll go to you'll go over to settings, go down to accessories, go over to controllers, communication method, use USB cable. This must be set for the PlayStation DualShock 4 controller. Okay. Also, you want to go into Zen Studio. This is the Zen version first. We'll go into Zen Studio, open it, device, and I'll plug in my Zen Studio device on the right port. You do not have to do this, but this is for Zen settings. This is how you get it to connect to the Zen. I have enable PS4 specialty mode enabled, and auto is enabled. I do not touch this one. I just leave this on auto and enable PS4 specialty. This will change by itself to Xbox or PS. If it says Xbox, not changing to PS, this needs to be set to auto. An issue with that is if it says Xbox, the PlayStation 5 may not accept it. All these other settings I leave default, and that's all you should have to do for Zen Studio. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the Zen from the PC, from that port, and I will start up Remote Play. So go ahead, start your Remote Play. It should connect to your PlayStation. So there it is. It's up and running. I have the PlayStation 5 controller. It is disconnected, so we're going to need to connect the controller to this. I'm using the game Siege for demonstration. There shouldn't be much of a lag, and I'll show you guys. My input lag is almost none. At the end of the video, I will talk about how to minimize this. The first thing we're going to do is the Zen. So we're going to take the Zen and we're going to plug in the rear port to the PlayStation. Or no, you're going to plug it into your computer for the PlayStation. So plug in take the small cable, connect it to the back, to the rear, and connect it to your PC. However you want to connect it to your PC, connect it to your PC's USB port. It should be up, starting. Mine says Rainbow Six. We will get this going. Actually, leave that there. And we're going to use a DualShock 4 controller. So get your DualShock 4 ready and get the cable ready with it. Your micro USB cable. I'm going to connect the back of the controller into this wire and just leave it. Next, grab your PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. Plug it into the rear. We're going to connect that to the left port of the Zen. Connect it to the left port of the Zen, just like that. Port A1. Controller should come on and you should have movement. So I do have movement. Remember, I barely have any input lag. Obviously it's going to be there. This is remote play, but for me it's not really noticeable, especially when I get into an online game. But like I said, at the end of the video I will show you how to minimize your network lag as best as you can. All this is up to you guys. Next, we're just going to set this aside and we're going to take our DualShock 4 controller. Mine's is only on because it's connected to the PlayStation 4. And we're going to connect it to the front left port of the Zen. That is the bottom left A3 port. Bottom left. So take that and plug that in. And it should reconnect. And you should be controlling the game. Now, some of you may run into this issue. Let me move the camera and show you. This issue where it's barely moving, right? This is fully engaged and it's barely moving. Now, I can barely walk forward. This is a Bluetooth problem. Now, I found that pressing that Bluetooth button on the Zen does not make this any better. Right now, it's not connected to the Zen. Well, it is, but it's also connected to the PlayStation 4. So let me show you that not only is moving in game, but it's also controlling my PlayStation 4. So you need to disconnect your controller from Bluetooth to get this working properly. And how to do that is on the PlayStation 4 or wherever you're connected. You need to go into your devices, Bluetooth, DualShock, disconnect. That should get rid of that. However, you now need to replug in. The biggest issue is not connecting it Bluetooth to the Zen. If you connect it Bluetooth to the Zen, you're in trouble there. So, connecting it Bluetooth to the Zen has caused this problem, and I do not know how to fix it yet, but I do know why it's going. It is double input, and the double input it means that I can use the PlayStation 5 controller and the 4 at the same time. And when you use both controllers, you get normal movement. However, the Zen is supposed to be disconnecting, or disabling the input for the A1 slot. So for the DualSense controller, there should be no input going into the Zen. However, the Zen is allowing the input to go in, but you know, I don't know how to fix that yet, but stay with me. I am working on a solution. So I did not experience this issue, this jitter right here. I did not experience this issue when I first did this video, when I first showed a subscriber how to actually use their DualShock 4 controller. And he got this just fine. However, the next person I showed had connected their Zen to their DualShock 4 controller via Bluetooth, and this is an issue because disconnecting it from the Bluetooth of the Zen is pointless. The Cronus support has not helped me out with this issue, and I've been working day and night trying to figure it out. I don't use a DualShock 4 controller, so it's not really holding me back, and I don't even use the Zen personally. However, this is the issue, and I'm still working on a solution. Those of you that experience this jitter, we will get through this together. However, if I use both controllers, this is me trying to move right, full blown on a full analog stick to the right. However, if I use both controllers, I get the real movement. That is pressing both of these at the same time, and I get the full movement that I should from one controller. So we are going to figure that out. So that is how you use the DualShock 4 with the Cronus Zen alone. So, as I stated earlier, the last video I had PlayStation 5 Games with the PS5 Controller, Cronus and XIM together. This should cover a lot, but those that want to use a DualShock 4 controller, this will cover covers how to do it just with the Zen. However, if you want to do it with the XIM only, the XIM only should be as easy as plugging in the Xim Apex and connecting your mouse, your keyboard, and your controller, but doing it in a sequence. And obviously sequencing means plugging things in the exact slots at the right time. It's not that hard with the XIM. It is plug the mouse in first, the keyboard, the hub, and then plug the XIM in. Everything should illuminate, and then connect your controller to your third slot, and that should allow you. So an example will be what I'm about to do right now. I'm going to show you how to use the Cronus and the XIM. Those that are just using the XIM, this is the same way you connect the XIM if you were doing it alone. So right now I have everything disconnected already. I'm going to plug in the Cronus Zen only, and that is to the rear slot. I know people get bootloader errors. For those, whenever I get them, which has been rare, but doing these tutorials I get them more often now. But before I never even experienced it. All I do is just restart my XIM. I power cycle it and it works again. So I have the Zen started. I'm going to plug in my PlayStation 5 DualSense controller into the left slot A1. That's going to be the first thing you do, and that's the first sequence, or second technically. And now we're going to take our XIM and get it set up and plugged in. So for those that are using the regular hub, you have slot 1, 2, and 3. This will be the same thing. I'm going to be using my own hub because it provides way more power. And the bottom slot will be your slot 1, 2, and 3 for those using the normal hub. For people using an external hub, you can treat this the same way. The bottom slot will be mouse, middle, second slot up, keyboard, third slot, your controller. I already have one connected, but this is how I would connect it. So mine is already connected in the back and they stay plugged in, and my wires are right here in front. I have a micro USB wire and a USB-C cable in case whatever controllers I want to use. And that you'll just plug whichever extra cables into the rest of the slots. So the first sequence, have your mouse, your keyboard plugged into your hub, and then connect your hub to your XIM. Once they're connected to the XIM, go ahead, without the controller connected, plug it into the bottom in the front left slot, A3 of the Cronus Zen. It should light up and turn white once it's done initializing, and it is. So now I'm going to take my DualShock 4 controller and connect that to the XIM. Now this is connected to my Xim Apex. You can see it's changing things on the PlayStation, but I still have this jitter. Some of you may not experience it, but you can tell it's a Cronus Zen because only a Cronus Zen can crouch that fast, crouch spam that fast. So another thing is I'm putting the controller down. I'm going to go to the mouse, and this is still movement. Sadly, this is the Cronus and XIM. Sadly, I do have this. Some of you may not have this. Do not connect your Bluetooth controller to the Zen at all. If you connect your Zen to the Bluetooth controller, this is the error that I've been dealing with ever since I did that. And I did it on accident. So don't do it at all. Don't do it on accident, because once you do it, the Cronus support does not exactly help. The Cronus guide how to disconnect it does not help. I've done that. I've used the PlayStation 5. I've used the PlayStation 4 Pro. I've used a PC, and I can get it to forget the Bluetooth, but the minute you plug it, you connect the DualShock 4 controller back to the Zen, it'll always find it in Bluetooth again. The minute you do that. So until I get that, until I figure out how to fix that, that's the downfall of that, and that's the lag, that's the input issue you're going to have. Your best bet is to try and use this with one controller. Use the PlayStation 5 controller if you can, or a third-party controller. I believe the DualShock 4 version 2 is also known as the Hori controller. I do not use any third-party controllers for this. However, just, you know, do what you can. As far as the input lag goes, you can almost see that on my PC and my PlayStation in the middle, I almost have no input lag other than the jitter. So let me see if I can full screen this. I'll full screen this and back away. I am going to do this only with the PlayStation 5 controller. If it works, it does. So I am going to spin in circles. This is just the Cronus Zen, and this is my input lag. It's barely noticeable, not, I would say, a millisecond or two, and that's not a, that's, it's playable to me. That is, I can play online competitively. So that's all I have for that. If you are experiencing input lag, it could be due to your network. However, I'm going to show you, I'm going to just explain what goes on within the network when you're doing this. So one common issue people have is they're experiencing too many seconds of lag. You hit your controller button and it won't respond for seconds. That is unplayable to me. The best thing you can do is take your network and troubleshoot it. Figure out what is on it. How many devices do you have connected? What are they doing on your network? The biggest thing is I live in an area where my internet isn't the greatest. However, I'm still having no lag issues. I have almost a ton of devices connected to my network. I have like 6 Amazon Echoes, light switches, camera systems, all my devices, 2 PCs, 4 consoles, 3 PCs, 4 consoles, all the cell phones, tablets, and I still have no input lag. The biggest thing is you got to set up your network correctly. You can't connect, if you have a modem and a router, if you have a modem router combo and you connect another router to your modem router combo without bridging it, you will cause a double NAT issue, and that will also affect how you, if you connect to games and you can voice chat or, you know, whatever issues there. If you connect your router to VPN, that's another issue. I personally use a VPN, sure, but I connect my VPN from my laptop into a Ethernet switch. This Ethernet switch is 1 and 2. 1 means I'm connected to hardline, my modem. 2 means I'm connected to my VPN, which is also my laptop. And all I have to, that's a quick switch for me. All I have to do is press 2, press 1, and I'm on my VPN or my hardline internet. I use that because I don't want to keep switching wires to keep going back and forth to get off a VPN or go onto a VPN. But my VPN comes from my laptop, and my normal internet comes from my living room where I have my modem. I have a 100-foot cable, maybe 50-foot, but I have a long cable connected to Ethernet switches behind the PlayStation. And that is still not giving me that much lag. So yes, longer wires can be an issue, but in my case, no, they're not. So I have my network. I have a modem router combination. So my combination is fine. If your combination isn't, you need to go into your modem settings and figure out what's going on. If you use two routers, you need to just use one. You can bridge your modem to your router, or just use your modem router combo. So all you'd have to do is go into your modem settings on your PC, 192.168.0.1 for most people. You go into those settings and find a setting that allows you to bridge your modem to your router. This will make your modem only a modem, and it will take away the router function of it and allow you to use a third-party router or an outside router. And that's all you need, is one router. You do not need to connect a router to a modem with another router already on it, because then you created a double NAT environment, and that will cause issues big time. Other than that, I can't really think of other ways that will cause input lag. Maybe the speed of a computer. Maybe. Obviously, actually that would, but I don't know. I'm just using Windows 10. Obviously, I have a custom-built PC with an i9 processor in it, but my internet is all the same. It's only 250 megabits per second, and I'm still having no input issues over remote play, and that is with any device. You can watch my other videos on how to do remote play with mobile for those that do not have a computer, but the delay is still the same. I also have another video where I'll be using the PlayStation 4 for remote play, showing you how to use Cronus and Zen. And the PlayStation 4 by far for me is the worst input lag. However, with the PC remote play and the mobile remote play, I did not experience bad issues. They were almost 1 millisecond. So anyway, guys, that is it. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.